I'll speak about a few things which I have learned in the field of management, and later on I have seen their relevance in the social work as well. I'm really glad to work with my colleagues in the social work space to enhance the learning outcomes and build the skills of the social worker students. The first thing I would like to emphasize is on appreciative inquiry. This can be a very important framework to enhance the skill of the social work students, and in fact anyone, even the people who are working in this space, who are active in this space. Appreciative inquiry is based on a basic assumption that institutions or organizations or societies are not problems to be solved. These are miracles to be embraced, because there are a lot of things which are working in this system. So instead of not only focusing on the problem, we also can focus on, actually appreciative inquiry emphasizes that we should start our attention and we should start the inquiry and development process by looking at what is working well in that system. For example, there is a very interesting case study that we mentioned in the book Switch. It is about a social worker who went to Vietnam after the war, and when the company was stormed, and the malnutrition was a big issue at that time. He represented one non-government organization which was not very rich. He did not have great funds, but with the limited resources, he wanted to make some difference. He was the American, landed in Vietnam to work something, to contribute something to address their problem of malnutrition amongst children. And situation was such that 65% kids in the area which he chose to operate, 65% kids were suffering from malnutrition. Initially, like anyone, he was overwhelmed with this problem, and then he thought that what is happening and who are these 30-35% kids who are not malnourished. His wonderment and his puzzle actually got even more complex when he saw that these 30% kids who are not suffering from malnutrition are from different social status, from mothers and from the family with the very educational status. So education, social status, economic status, those were not the things which seems to be affecting this phenomenon. This seems to be behind these 30% kids who are not malnourished. He observed and found one practice, and that practice was common in the families, and this was followed by the mothers of these kids almost invariably in this sample. And that practice was they were adding shrimps while cooking rice. Shrimp was providing them the micronutrients, and rice was providing them the energy, and that was a major factor in preventing malnourishment amongst these kids. This became a best practice, and how it was discovered? The solution came, the problem of this the solution of this problem came when we looked at what is working in the system. So similarly, whenever we are entering the field, and generally people come in the field of social work because they deny to the participants of the problems or observers of the problems. They want to make difference, they want to make action. And when people enter the field to act, to do something about it, many times they get enamored by the magnanimity of problem itself, but they do not look at what might be still working in some pockets, in these systems. If we look at that, we can get idea how whole system can be aligned to those practices which are already prevailing in some pockets of the field where we want to address any problem. So this is the essence of appreciative inquiry. Appreciative inquiry starts with the process of discovering what are the life-giving forces. Second stage in the appreciative inquiry is dream. Instead of thinking about I need to solve this problem, it is useful to think and imagine the reality when this problem or any problem is not existing. So it operates from an affirmation. It is not operating from the approach of deviation of a problem, but affirmation of the grand possibility. So dream phase generally ends with some of the provocative propositions. What is the dream about my system? I want people. It's, for example, one company was working on the sexual harassment issues. In spite of a lot of training to the people, the healthy relationship was not emerging at workplace across the genders. Then they changed the proposition, and the provocative proposition arose from the appreciative inquiry was that we want to have a joyful workplace where there is a free flow of positive communication amongst the generations, amongst the different genders. So instead of saying that I want to address the sexual harassment, we are saying the provocative proposition is we want to have a joyful place where people are having a very positive and congenial conversation across the generation, across the sex. The kind of solution we develop with the provocative proposition are very different from the kind of proposition we develop when we are focused on addressing a problem. Actually, provocative proposition entails addressing the problem, but it is more than that. It is framed in an affirmative way. It is framed in terms of what we can do instead of being framed in the framework of what we have to avoid. So that's a dream phase. Then comes design phase. Design phase is what systems and processes can help us to realize these dreams. And that's where comes the operationality. That's where comes the management part of it. We can be very passionate about some solutions. We can be very passionate about making positive difference to any social sector. But we need to convert our solution and we need to implement the solution in the form of systematic process. What I mean is that systematic process is important as our passion is important to address a problem or to elevate a system to the higher level of functionality. So the third stage in the appreciative inquiry talks about the design phase, meaning what systems and processes can help us to realize the dream. And the fourth stage, earlier it used to be called delivery, now it is called destiny. It is called destiny because in a way we are writing our destiny ourselves. So this emerges from the design phase, and that focuses on who will do what and when. So actual operationalization, how it will happen, happens in the design phase, in the delivery phase or destiny phase. You see, this is also action oriented, but this is provocative in a positive sense. It unleashes the hidden potential of the system. When we are entering the developmental work, not with the criticism about only the problem, but also with the inherent faith in any system to address its problem by itself, we can use appreciative inquiry, and in that process we unleash whatever is positive, whatever is functional, maybe in the small pockets in the system. So in this way we are utilizing the force of the system itself, and that makes the whole process joyful, that makes the whole process very congenial, and because of its positivity it creates it operates on the positive form of energy. So this is one thing I propose to be incorporated in the social work space, and that will develop a different set of competencies and skills amongst the people who are interested in the social work. Second thing which can be incorporated in the curriculum is case studies. We see lot of management education uses case study, but I don't see that much, those many case studies are written and used in the classroom for the in the social work space. Why we need case study? Number one, we want to enhance the skill. We not only aim to give knowledge about certain things relevant for the social work in the curriculum. We don't want to do that only. We want to enhance the skills. Now, can we make people work on each and every aspect or each and every skill which is required in the field? Many times, most of the time, it is not possible. Because if I take example of human resource management, recruitment is a skill, performance management system is a skill, training and development, ability to develop a training module is a skill. All these are skills. But can we incorporate the exercises, can we incorporate the projects, small projects on all these topics in a full credit course in a semester? Many times it will be difficult. So we can compensate our inability to do project on all the topics by incorporating case studies. Case studies at one level can help to develop a skill in the classroom itself. If I want to develop the skill of developing job description. Now one way is making people go to the field and get them actually do the job description. That will be a time consuming process. But another way is if we can have a nice case study which requires student and still the skill development can happen. So this is one important utility in terms of skill development of the case study. Another very important aspect of case study is that good cases can actually inspire students to work in the field and appreciate and enjoy the work, enjoy the engagement in the social work. Social work is not only about skills. Inherently, it is about inspiration. Inspiration can come by looking at people, the wonderful work with a lot of commitment and passion they might be doing in any field, or this can be done by reading about those works. So case study can be used for inspiring students. So case study are very impactful in inspiring students to take up the social work. For that, actually the academic fraternity of the social work has to gear up, because we can't teach the social work related case study which are written in some other parts of the world. All societies have their unique problems. So a social work case study written in USA may not be relevant in India. So we actually have to have lots and lots of case studies being written in the social work space, which can be used in various subject streams, various courses. So once the course outline is ready, we need to have a focused work, focused attention, focused work on developing case studies on various topics. And maybe Mahatma Gandhi Council or some other council which is custodian of the social work can create a repository. There are examples of the case repositories which are being used worldwide. Harvard is one example, but ISB Hyderabad also started case repository. Its cases are being used in many schools. IB case repository is there. Ahmedabad also has a case repository. And Bangalore has started a case repository. So why not? There should be a case repository of the Indian cases. Why it should not be created? Maybe council or any other body can take that initiative and have the case bank which will have cases for different courses, different topics being taught in the social work, and according to the need, teachers can use this. And of course, we need to inspire first the teachers to write cases. Then some could be very simple one-page cases. These are called caselets. Some could be like a longer cases. So all types of cases have to be written, and an academic system in the colleges have to figure out how they can incentivize this case writing work and how to train people or maybe inspire teachers to use more and more cases in the classroom. So appreciating inquiry and case-based method, I think, can be very useful. And these are the only 2 points. There are many other points like field visits, internships, shadowing, all are very, very useful for the skill development. But I want to emphasize on these 2 points on the skill development for the students in the stream of social work. One another thing which is very useful for skill enhancement, and that is also relevant for developing capacity for research as well, and that can be useful for the students of social work, and that is action research. Action research is different from the conventional enterprise of research. What we generally understand is start from a research question and then you do a field visit, or you develop a hypothesis and then you collect data and check the hypothesis, or you explore about the research question depending on qualitative and quantitative method and approach of positivism or the interpretivism you are following. Action research is beyond that. Action research asks to look at the field, identify an issue which has to be addressed, and hypothesizing not about the problem but hypothesizing about the solution, and based on that hypothesis the solution can be implemented in the small sphere of that big field of the problem. That can give idea whether hypothesis is correct or not, whether hypothesis about that thing being a solution or not. And when research is done not only about the hypothesis which is related to the impact of one variable over other, but hypothesis about the solution of a problem, then it becomes an action research. If you look at great socially impactful work, some of the work is done by the Abhijit Banerjee in the different parts of the world. He did experiments, and those experiments are done with the assumption about certain solution about the problem. So this is close to the action research, but I think the very, very prominent example of the social work is the work of very prominent example of the action research in the social work is by Muhammad Yunus, Professor Muhammad Yunus, who is the founder of Grameen Bank. He was a professor of economics, we all know, and in the close by areas in his university, almost in the slum areas and the rural areas, his hypothesis about the solution of an issue about the lack of availability of credit was that if we can provide some credit, if we can provide some money to the poor, they can carry out their business to the next level, they will earn some money to carry on their living, and they will be able to return back, they will be credit worthy, they will be able to return the money also to the lender. That was his hypothesis, and then he lended money, he looked at their behavior, and his hypothesis turned out to be true, that they were credit worthy in spite of being very poor. For the microcredit, they turned out to be credit worthy, and rest, as they say, all is history. Mayaraga in India actually also started slightly before Muhammad Yunus recorded work. Both are excellent example of action research. So this is another thing which can be very useful for skill development and knowledge development at the same time. We want social workers who are not only worker but who are also reflective people, who can reflect on the issues, who can also do some abstraction, who can do some conceptualization, who can present their insights in a scientific manner that can inform theory not only in the social work, it can inform theory in the all other developmental fields. So action research can be also very useful to build the skills of the students of the social work and also build a fresh, useful knowledge in the field of social work.